This shoe's really making me want to Sprite. A lot. Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome back to ACS Sneakers. My name is Aiden. On today's video, we are taking a look at the Air Max 1 in the Powerwall Limeade colourway. Before we get into that, I just want to say a huge thank you to my returning viewers. Thank you as always for supporting me and the channel. It is greatly appreciated. And to any new viewers, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, hitting that bell notification. We do release brand new content each and every week. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the intro. Initially releasing on September 19th for a retail price of £125, today we are taking a look at the Air Max 1 in the Powerwall Limeade colourway. This is actually a fresh take on the classic Powerwall Air Max 1 that initially released as part of a 56 sneaker pack back in 2006. Now this is the first time since 2006 that we are seeing a Powerwall Air Max 1. And for anyone that doesn't know, the Powerwall Air Max 1 is probably one of the most successful and sought after Air Maxes of all time. So with that said, let's get straight into the box. And here we go guys, I now have the box in hand, and as you can see, we just get that usual bog standard red Nike cardboard box with the white Nike branding across the top. A little bit of a disappointment for me personally, given the significance of this release. I was anticipating that we would get a limited shoe box to match the colourway of the shoe, and in that respect it is a little bit of a disappointment. If we take a quick look at the label on the box, which reads Nike Air Max 1 PRM in the pine green colourway. So that wraps up the overview of the box. Let's get into the rest of my review. And here we go guys, I now have the shoe in hand, so starting from the toes up. Here we have this pine green mesh toe box. And around the toe box we have the pine green leather that can also be seen on the midfoot. As far as the quality of leather is concerned, I actually do really like the leather on this shoe. It has a super soft texture underhand, and I actually think the quality is pretty good as well. Now, as far as the mesh is concerned, it does pretty much have that same feel as a lot of the other Air Max 1 releases. It's extremely flexible and breathable, so you pretty much know what you're going to get as far as the mesh is concerned with Air Max 1 releases. Now, I didn't actually notice at first glance, but the actual toe box does have a slightly shiny iridescent finish, which I did think was a pretty nice feature on this shoe. And now moving up the upper of the shoe itself, here we have the Air branding, which wraps right the way around the entire upper of the shoe. Now, this is probably the most interesting and sought after feature on the entire shoe. The upper has been created using leather throughout, but also does incorporate 3M as well, which I personally think is a pretty interesting detailing. Now, to be honest, before getting the shoe in hand, I was kind of 50-50 as to whether or not I did like this feature. Now having the shoe in hand, I'm still 50-50. I think it's either one of those things you really like or you don't. There's really no middle ground, but I'm kind of leaning more towards not liking it if I'm being completely honest. I just think, even though I like loud shoes, I just think this is even too loud for me personally. I've also seen that people who have actually started to wear the shoe and, you know, they've only had it on once or twice, have started to notice that the leather on the upper of the shoe has already started to crack and come away. Now that is a major concern, considering that if people are only getting one or two wears out of it, I can imagine that a lot of people are going to be returning their shoes, you know, pretty much every day. So I think Nike definitely has to address the issue if they haven't already. And I just think that it's going to cause a massive, massive issue in the sneaker community if this isn't addressed by Nike as soon as possible. If you guys haven't already, please go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification so you never miss a video. Let's get back into it. And now taking a look at within the actual upper of the shoe itself, on both the lateral and medial side of the shoe, here we have a pine green patent leather Nike swoosh. Like the toe box on the shoe, this does have a very shiny iridescent finish, and to be completely honest, I really do like how this looks on the shoe. Personally, I do think that it actually does break up the actual midfoot area of the shoe incredibly well. And now moving down the shoe itself, here we have a complete white midsole with the translucent air unit towards the heel, and underfoot, here we have a complete black rubber outsole. And now taking a look at the laces on the shoe, here we have a complete set of cream laces. Now, I personally do really like how the laces look on this shoe. There's quite a lot of green throughout, as you can imagine, and I definitely feel that these cream laces do break it up really well. If you don't like the cream laces on this shoe, you do actually get 3 additional sets of laces as well, so you could alternatively go with white, green, or a combination of the two. I think this is actually the very first time I've actually had a shoe that comes with 3 additional sets of laces, which you definitely can't be mad at. But for me personally, I'll probably just leave the cream laces in, as I definitely feel that that does work best in my opinion. Now the laces do sit atop a pine green tongue. To be completely honest, I'm really not sure what the material is that they have used to create the tongue on this shoe. It has an almost silk-like quality, and I really do like how it looks and feels. Like what we saw on the toe box, it has a very shiny, almost iridescent finish, and I also think that that's a nice feature as well. If we look towards the top of the tongue itself, here we have the Nike branding alongside a lime. Personally, I really do like how this looks. If you're not really a part of the sneaker community, or if you're not a big fan of Air Max 1s, you might not even notice this feature, and I just think it is such a nice and subtle detail. And now taking a look at the sock line of the shoe, which is featured in this complete white. Now, I personally did actually notice that there were some QC problems with my sock liner. At the very top of the heel, there is some glue stains. I think Nike have been really sloppy with this particular release. You know, the upper is starting to crack for a lot of people. I'm seeing glue stains on the sock liner, and I just think Nike definitely could have done a lot better for this release. I'm not sure if they had to rush it out or whatever the issues were in the factory, but I definitely feel like they're just very sloppy on this shoe. It's probably the worst shoe for QC that I've seen in quite a long time, to be honest. Now, as far as padding goes for the sock liner, it's pretty standard with other Air Max 1s. There's a decent amount of padding, but for me personally, I've never really found the Air Max 1 that comfortable to wear. I'm not sure why. I just think that because the actual shoe itself, not a lot has actually changed in terms of the materials they used to create the shoe since it initially released in 1987. I just think that it's not necessarily as comfortable as a lot of the other releases. Personally, I think Air Max 90s are a lot more comfortable than Air Max 1s. And now taking a look at my favourite feature on the entire shoe, which is the insole. Here we have a primarily yellow insole with lime detailing throughout. And now to finish taking a look at the heel of the shoe, here we have the Air branding, this time in yellow. Once again, a really nice and subtle detail that you might not notice at first glance, and I just think that it actually makes the heel stand out quite well if you do actually notice that it is there. And that just about wraps up the overview of the shoe itself, so now let's go ahead and get into my opinions on the shoe. Now before we do go ahead and get into my opinions on the shoe, normally at this stage I would go into detail in terms of comfortability and durability, but to be completely honest, I'm going to be letting this shoe go, so I won't actually be trying this shoe on. So as I've already covered, I personally don't find Air Max 1s comfortable, and as far as durability goes, people are already noticing cracks within the upper, so personally I really don't feel that this shoe is going to be very durable. In terms of sizing, I personally do go true to size whenever I do pick up an Air Max 1, and I do feel that that does fit me perfectly. And if you have a chance to try out an Air Max 1, I would absolutely recommend that you do so, just so you can understand the best fit for you. And in terms of my overall opinion on the shoe itself, I do give the Air Max 1 Powerwall Limeade a very respectable 6 out of 10. Personally, I feel that that is a pretty decent reflection on the shoe itself, considering the QC problems that not only I, but other people are starting to notice, as well as the fact that I'm really not a big fan on the colourway itself. I think that Nike have definitely dropped the ball in terms of QC and the actual delivery of the shoe. I think they definitely could have been better, they should have been better, and I personally feel really sorry for anyone out there that's been waiting 14 years for this shoe to re-release. It's definitely not up to scratch, and I definitely think that Nike should address the issues that people are facing. I'd love to know what you guys think as well, so please go ahead and drop me a comment in the comment section below, and let's go ahead and take a look at the shoe in more detail. Now I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who stuck around to this point in the video. Please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, hitting that bell notification, and I hope to see you again in the next one.